Right now at noon, the spring election gets underway as early voting begins in Wisconsin. The big race here getting national attention. Plus, a high-stakes phone call between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin on the war in Ukraine. This is News 3 Now at noon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh Breiter. Right now, nobody is in custody yet following a bomb threat made towards a Sun Prairie Walmart. Police were called to the Walmart on McCoy Road just after 4:30 Monday afternoon. An employee found a note that contained the threat. The store was evacuated. Police say they did not find any suspicious devices. If you have any information, you're asked to contact the Sun Prairie Police non-emergency line. Some Belleville residents are standing up for people with special needs after controversial comments from a trustee earlier this month. It comes after trustee Maxine Ward questioned letting a special educations program continue in Belleville schools. She also singled out 23-year-old Jacob Lloyd, who is a Belleville man with special needs. Though he can't speak about how he feels, his parents are speaking out for him.
I was disappointed for sure. You know, because it's a village board, you know, you kind of expect that the people who represent your community are going to be, you know, people who are thinking, you know, proactively and constructively. The most important thing to remember about people like Jacob who have profound disabilities is that they're just people and they just want to live a fulfilling life like everybody else.
Jacob's father says trustee Ward should resign despite her apology. Tune in to News 3 Now at 6 tonight for the full story. In-person absentee voting is officially underway today for the April 1st election, and all eyes are on the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. Voters will determine the balance of the court. It has big names conservatives like Elon Musk donating to conservative Justice Brad Schimmel's campaign. Donald Trump Jr. and Charlie Kirk were in Oconomowoc campaigning for Schimmel Monday. On the other side of the ticket, George Soros and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker are giving money to Crawford through the Democratic Party. Madisonians can now use the city's ballot drop boxes for the April election. There are 14 drop boxes throughout Madison. Before you put your ballot in the box, make sure you've included your signature, your witness's signature, and their name and address. After you drop off the ballot, two sworn election officials will place them in a bag with a tamper evidence seal and take it straight to the clerk's office personnel. You can find a full list of locations for those drop boxes on the City of Madison's website. The White House says President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke on the phone this morning as the U.S. tries to negotiate a ceasefire deal between Russia and Ukraine. President Trump said Ukraine's land and power plants will likely be part of the discussions with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited a military cemetery in Lviv today to pay his respects to soldiers killed during Russia's invasion. Ukraine is skeptical that Putin is ready for peace, but hopeful for a breakthrough after 3 years of fighting.
Of course, there's no trust, but politics is politics. Every war comes with negotiations, so if we need to sit at the table, so that's what we should do.
Russian forces are occupying around 20% of Ukraine and seized a power plant in 2022, Europe's largest nuclear site, which has been caught in the crossfire. Well, quiet today, pretty nice outside, but we've got some changes on the way. First, where meteorologist Jacob Montesano has your certified no-sack-year forecast. Hi, Jacob.
Hey, Josh. Yeah, don't be fooled by this weather. We're going to have an alert day in the forecast for not just rain, but also some snow will return. Now, before I talk about that, let's take a look at right now and the rest of the day. Right now in the middle 50s, definitely very nice out here. As I look up, though, not a lot of sunshine, mostly clouds. But the good news is that the winds aren't too bad, not as windy as they were yesterday. And like I mentioned, we're seeing a lot of cloud cover. You can see that firsthand on the visible cloud track. Despite the cloud cover, though, we are pretty much completely dry in southern Wisconsin. Won't be the case tomorrow, though. However, the rest of today, we're going to continue to see a lot of cloud cover, but we're also going to continue to be very mild. Upper 50s, lower 60s will be your high temperatures today. The rain may begin to move in late tonight, but especially during the day tomorrow. And we're also going to be windy with some snow on the back end of this system. So it's going to be a pretty messy Wednesday into Wednesday night. I'll talk through all the details on this system coming up a little bit later.
Right, Jacob, we'll see you then. Thank you. Well, the Badger men's basketball team is heading to Denver today ahead of Thursday's NCAA tournament game against Montana. Wisconsin is the 3 seed in the East region of the tournament. Should they beat the Grizzlies, the Badgers would play the winner of either BYU or VCU for a shot at the Sweet 16. Tip-off for Thursday's game is 12:30 on TNT. Stick with News 3 Now for live coverage leading up to the game this week. Sports director Zach Hanley and reporter Arman Rahman will be in Denver with reaction from coaches, players, and fans as the Badgers look to make a run at a national championship. While the Badgers won't be playing on News 3 Now, we will be bringing you plenty of basketball action starting Thursday. At 11:15 in the morning, the action tips off when former Badger Chucky Hepburn and the Louisville Cardinals take on Creighton. At 1:50, Auburn plays the winner of the first 4 matchup between St. Francis and Alabama State. Then at 6:10, it's a face-off between Arkansas and Kansas. At 8:45, it's St. John's versus Omaha. Happening now in the 608, vote for a local veteran you think is deserving of the Spirit of Service Award. Our partners at Vortex narrowed the more than 200 nominations down to these final 5. Voting is now open on channel3000.com through March 30th. You can look for their stories on News 3 Now and our mobile app. A winner will be announced April 2nd. That person takes home $5,000 presented by Vortex. Still ahead for us this afternoon, a clothing retailer files for bankruptcy, plus how much the price of a new home could go up due to President Trump's trade war.
The cost of building a new home could jump more than $9,000 due to President Donald Trump's trade war. That's according to a new estimate from the National Association of Home Builders. The group's March survey pointed to elevated costs of materials due to tariffs, as well as labor and lot shortages. Economists say tariffs could also impact costs to buy and renovate fixer-uppers. Consumer spending rose a modest 0.2% in February, according to the latest federal data, stoking fears that the economy could be slowing down. It comes a week after a University of Michigan survey found consumer confidence has hit a 2-year low. Multiple U.S. retailers have recently pared down their economic outlooks for the year, citing weakening customer demand and trade uncertainty. And a beloved staple of young fashion, Forever 21, is winding down its U.S. business after filing for bankruptcy for a second time. The 40-plus-year-old clothing retailer is offering deep discounts on its website and in some store locations, both of which the company says will remain open for some time. In a statement, Forever 21 CEO said the company could not find a sustainable path forward, blaming steep competition from foreign fast fashion brands. Forever 21 stores outside of the U.S. are not expected to be impacted. That's your CBS News Money Watch report. For more, log on to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Jesse Mitchell.
Here's the stock numbers at the noon hour. The Dow is down 363 points, NASDAQ down 277, and the S&P 500 down 67. Our call for action volunteers are in the building taking your consumer complaints and taking action on your behalf. Call for action at 608-270-2833 or submit a claim anytime at channel3000.com/call-for-action. Pam has today's farm numbers ahead, plus Jacob has the first warn forecast, and later on Live at 4. The latest fad wellness influencers are touting. Dr. Jeff Potoff on whether it has any benefits. Welcome back. Let's check in now with Pam Yankee from the Midwest Farm Report. And it's a big day in the egg world, Pam.
That is correct, Josh. You are right on target. National Agriculture Day being celebrated all across the countryside. If you follow social media, you probably are seeing the hashtag. Started this morning about 9 a.m. out in Washington, D.C. at the U.S. Department of Agriculture with a big contingency of food companies, agribusinesses, commodity groups, ag manufacturing, all there with USDA Chief Secretary Brooke Rollins talking about the power of U.S. agriculture and also talking, obviously, a little bit about the challenges that lie ahead. It all started back in 1973 when a coalition of those same groups came together and said, hey, let's designate a day when we try to draw attention to the consuming public about all the things that agriculture is engaged in. And today that includes things like pharmaceuticals as well. So if you want to find out more or follow up on some of those activities, go to agday.org. Agday.org. Thanks for that, Josh. Another item that we're kind of keeping an eye on as far as our markets today. Over the weekend, the Phase 1 trade agreement from the first Trump administration expired. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but what it did is keep some of our meat processors in the lurch on their exportability to China. Basically, what that Phase 1 agreement allowed is China was agreeing and certifying over 300 pork facilities and cold storage units in the United States and more than 390 beef facilities. Well, they got the beef recertification done, they got the pork recertification done, but we're waiting on beef. Might be just a show of strength, but I'll tell you what, our beef processors, more than a little concerned if they don't get this done. That means that those facilities would not be able to send beef to China unless it was processed before March 16th. So a little bit of something going on there. We'll see if they resolve that in the next 24 hours' time. Barrel cheese today, down 5.5 at 157. The 40-pound block cheese down 7 at 157.5. Double A butter even down 0.75 cents today, $2.29.5 per pound. So even if it's not necessarily making a lot of big headlines, Josh, the tariffs are influencing our dairy trade for sure. And obviously, even though it's not tariff action, it's tariff-like action for China to still kind of be dragging its feet on recertifying over 300 of those beef processing facilities. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's so hard these days because it's fluctuating so much. You never know what you're going to get each day we go here every single week.
I feel like my 18-year-old nephew, I'm constantly scrolling somewhere to try to make sure that I'm up to speed on what I need to follow up on. Yeah.
Constant updates. Well, hey, happy National Egg Day. I feel like every day should be Egg Day here in Wisconsin, right?
That's right. It is in the farm department, but I'm happy to jump on the grandstand today with this.
I love it. All right, Farm Babe, thank you.
See you later.
Alert day conditions return tomorrow. Meteorologist Jacob Montesano has the first warn forecast. Hi, Jacob.
Hey, Josh. Yeah, definitely enjoyed the weather today because it's not going to begin until early tomorrow morning. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier, it is very nice out there. But looking at the alert day information, we could see a few isolated thunderstorms with some snow on the back end of it and windy conditions all of southern Wisconsin in the alert day, mainly Wednesday into Wednesday night, but it could occur very late in the night tonight. Now, despite the fact that we could see snow in the back end of the system, there is a marginal risk of severe weather. This is for pretty much the entire area, the far northern portion of our area, not under that marginal risk. And as we take a look at the severe weather outlook, the most likely impacts will be wind and hail, minor flooding risk, but even that does look to be on the minor side. These storms will likely be on the lower end of the severe criteria, but still, the fact that temperatures will be cold enough, you may not expect it, but indeed we do have the chance of some severe weather, almost a 0% chance of an isolated tornado. Now, as we take a look at future track, again, not going to see anything today. We actually could see some sunshine before the day is up, but then the clouds will increase once again overnight, and especially right after sunrise is when we will start to see some of those showers and storms move into the area. And during the morning, that will be the best chance to see the severe weather, mainly during the late morning hours, because the temperatures will cool down throughout the afternoon, and looking off to the north and west, you can see that snow line continuing to push to the south and east. By around 5 p.m., we're still seeing rain in Dane County, but it looks like that rain will transition to snow right around sunset, maybe around 7 to 8 p.m. But as the rain transitions to snow for Dane County, the precipitation is really going to break up, so we're not expecting a ton of accumulation, but we definitely could see some snow showers, at least scattered snow showers, throughout the evening and into the overnight hours before it completely clears out by sunrise Thursday. Now, as far as the snowfall accumulation, again, we're only going to see about a ½ inch to a full inch at most for Madison, and a lot of that will melt very quickly tomorrow as the sun is shining and the ground is very warm. But taking a look off to the north and west, a lot more snow is expected the further north and the further northwest you are located, especially as you get closer to La Crosse. Now, as we take a look at the rainfall accumulation, everyone is expected to see at least a ½ inch of rain, possibly up to, if not exceeding, a full inch of rain. So we're going to see much needed precipitation, even though as far as snowfall accumulation, we're not going to see a lot of that just because the snow looks to be a little bit too wet and the ground is very warm right now. Now, during all this, we're also going to see some gusty winds. Minor wind gusts today up around 25 to 30 miles per hour, but they're going to increase during the morning and afternoon with gusts up to 35 miles per hour, but especially during the evening when that rain transitions to snow, that's when the winds will be the strongest. We're going to have wind gusts up around 40 to 45 miles per hour, and that's going to continue through Thursday morning. So although the precipitation will be gone by sunrise Thursday, we're going to see very gusty winds continue, but the winds will get better throughout the day on Thursday. So to recap everything, we're going to see rain begin late tonight and for most of Wednesday. The snow mainly during the Wednesday evening to overnight hours. Could see some of that lingering snow very early Thursday morning. And as far as the windy conditions, all of Wednesday and for most of Thursday, we will see windy weather. So a very messy Wednesday forecast. Obviously, we have that alert day in the forecast. After that, we do have more chances of precipitation, mainly towards the beginning of next week. But take a look at those temperatures. They're not expected to be as mild as they have been a lot of the last 7 days. Certainly not going to be as mild as it will be today. At least that's not what it looks like with high temperatures mostly in the 40s going forward. And by then, that will actually be below normal for this time of the year. So got that messy forecast tomorrow, and unfortunately, it's really going to shift the temperatures going forward.
I wish we could keep today's forecast and just linger it on through the rest of the week.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
All right. Thank you, Jacob. Well, today, Howard is cooking up one of his top-rated recipes in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Here in the Test Kitchen, we love reading your comments on Facebook and on MrFood.com. They help us plan what recipes to create and which ones to feature. And when a recipe stands out with tons of great comments, like the meatloaf we're making today, you can bet we'll be sharing it with you. For this, all we do is combine a couple pounds of ground beef with a finely chopped onion and green pepper. Then we add an egg, Italian breadcrumbs, some ketchup, and a bit of black pepper. And the trick to making any good meatloaf is you want to mix everything gently. This will keep it nice and tender. After putting it in a loaf pan, we gently pat it down so it holds its shape and doesn't crumble when it's baked. After baking it for about an hour, we spoon the remaining ketchup on the top and finish it with some brown sugar before popping it back in the oven for a few more minutes. You see, the combo of the ketchup and the brown sugar creates a to-die-for glaze that puts this meatloaf in a league of its own. So why not hop on your computer, tablet, or smartphone and grab the recipe for our old-fashioned meatloaf so you can make this for your family and see what all the hubbub is all about. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a classic comforting way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
Jacob's here with the final check of the forecast and a little bit of everything on the way.
Yeah, the temperatures we're seeing right now might be the warmest they'll be all week. So as we time out the precipitation, again, we're not going to see anything for the rest of today, and we aren't going to see much overnight. But as we get closer to sunrise Wednesday, that's when some storms will move into the area. During the middle and late morning, that looks to be the best chance to see any severe weather. But again, it does look like the severe weather will be on the lower end of severe criteria. Still could see some storms producing minor hail and wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. So definitely just be aware some of the storms could produce some strong elements. Now, as we look at the afternoon and evening, temperatures will cool down throughout the day. Still going to see mostly rain by 5 p.m. for Dane County, and then that rain snow line continuing to push off to the southeast throughout the evening. By the time we get to around 8, it looks like we'll see snow in Madison, but at that point, a lot of the precipitation will have been broken up. So as far as snowfall accumulation, Dane County won't see much. Could see about an inch or two for far northern and far western counties, but Madison will likely struggle to even get to a full inch of snow. Most of it, if not all of it, will clear out by Thursday morning by sunrise, and then we're going to see sunshine later in the day. Now, as we take a look at the recap of this system, we'll see rain begin kind of late tonight, but especially Wednesday morning, and that will continue for most of Wednesday until we get to about sunset for Dane County. That's when the rain will transition to snow. That transition will happen a little bit earlier the further northwest you're located, and a little bit later the further southeast you're located. And it's going to be windy for pretty much the entire day, especially Wednesday evening. And we're going to continue to see windy conditions for Thursday, despite the precipitation kind of being out of the area by Thursday morning. So overall, it'll be a very messy Wednesday forecast. A lot of that snow will melt if it does accumulate, just because the ground is warm and we'll see sunshine Thursday afternoon. But the temperatures aren't really going to improve that much. We'll see highs in the 50s and 40s for most of the 10-day forecast. And by next week, those highs in the 40s will actually be below normal. We're starting to get to the time of the year where the average high is supposed to be in the lower 50s. That'll be by the end of the 10-day forecast, though.
All right, Jacob. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a great afternoon. We're back with more news and weather live at 4.